Cooking Coogs Cooking Tour. My name is Feye. I'm the campus dietitian with Dining Services and your host tonight. Thank you. And this gentleman besides me is Chef Michael Bargas. He's our executive chef with Dining Services. And of course, tonight is our 6th episode and our final episode of the What's Cooking Coogs Cooking Tour. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. We're going to be making lettuce chicken wraps. It's really fun, a really easy recipe. It's healthy and it's so good for you. But before we get started, can you guys hold up your cooking tool? Nice. So everybody that came tonight got these tongs here. So that was a really fun prize. And of course, it's a kitchen essential. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Chef Michael, if you want to take this one away.
Thank you, Sarah. So as Sarah said, we're going to be doing some lettuce wraps. In this case, we're going to be doing a Thai chicken version. And the good thing with this is that once you have the basics down, as with a lot of the other things that we've talked about over the course of this program, you can easily change it to make it your own, whether it be your own flavor profiles, different proteins, different vegetables. But what we want to talk about today is making sure that you have all of your ingredients together and choosing the right ingredients. Because more times than not, having the good base ingredients is what will get you to the good final conclusion. All right. In the chef world, we call that mise en place, sort of everything in its place, basically being prepared for whatever the situation is. So I wanted to start the day out by looking at some different lettuce and just evaluating the different styles of lettuce, because these are sort of the more common, easily, readily available types of lettuce that you'll find just in your generic grocery store. And each one has a very good function. And of the 4 that we have here, 2 of them will be very functional for this sort of lettuce wrap, and 2 of them not so much. So the first one that we have is a romaine lettuce. I'm sure you're familiar with it. They come in the longer stalks. They break off pretty easily. But what you find with these is that because they're so long, it really is hard to either get a good roll on them because there's not enough lettuce to really encapsulate all of your ingredient. And it's fairly difficult to roll it the other way because you have such a big area that you don't really have much to put here. So you have a lot of lettuce relative to your stuffing. All right. One thing that we're going to see also is the stem that's on the inside. All right, these can be fairly fibrous, they can be fairly bitter, and in some cases they can be fairly watery, which will just dilute the flavor of whatever it is your main filling is. So in this case, while romaine is my favorite of the lettuce because of its other applications, not very good for a lettuce wrap. The second one that we're going to look at is iceberg lettuce. Easily the most common lettuce that we find. It tends to be the least expensive of the head lettuce as well. And while this one does have a fairly good surface area with which to fill things, it just typically doesn't have as much body to it. All right, it does have the crispness to it, but it breaks fairly easily, and it's hard to get a good cohesive wrap on these. If you are going to do lettuce wraps with iceberg and that's all you have, I recommend just blanching this really quickly in boiling water. Basically, you could just dunk it in up to where your fingers don't go in the water, and then immediately put it in some ice water to cool it down. And that will soften it up, but it'll make it a little bit easier to work in the wrap capacity. Typically, I would do that if I were using something, if I wanted a hot filling. We used to do duck confit, which is a duck leg, in a lettuce wrap, and I would blanch these, and they heat up well. but in a cold application, they tend to break fairly easily. So functional, but not my favorite, lettuce. The third one that we want to look at is green leaf lettuce. All right, these come in these fairly fluffy bunches. The leaves will come off pretty easily from the head. And what you'll find is that, again, you have a nice good surface area. The stem on these is pretty easy to get off. And then once you get it off, you do have that nice sort of floppy consistency so that it's easy to roll things in it. You have a nice bright green side to it, so it does have good color for presentation. Very, very good. This is a lettuce that I use for lettuce wraps very often. It's a good choice. So the lettuce we're going to be using today is the Boston lettuce. Sometimes it's called a bib lettuce. Sometimes it's called a butter lettuce. Sometimes it's called a Boston bib lettuce. Just depends on where you are. As we'll see as we break this thing down, it does have the nice, beautiful colors. It has a fairly soft, floppy consistency to it, so it will roll very easily. It also has a little bit more delicate, a little bit richer of a flavor than some of the other lettuces, so in that regard, it does have a slight leg up. Anytime you're working with whole lettuce, you really want to be aware of the product and where it comes from. Right? A lot of times with these kinds of lettuce, because of the way that they grow, they tend to be sort of naturally clean, but you still want to make sure that they get rinsed really well. And then once you get them all apart, wash the leaves as well. Okay? Anytime that you're working with lettuce like this, you do have to be aware that these things get bounced around a little bit. They get banged into each other. So you're going to have some discoloration on the outside. As long as it's sort of rough patches or bruised patches, typically there's nothing wrong with it. As I said, it's just been banged around a little bit. So what we'll do to start us off is just sort of peel those away until you get to just a smooth exterior. And that's what I'm going to be looking for, all right? For this, again, as I said before, we don't want to deal with the core as much as possible. So I'm just going to cut this away. And as you do that, these leaves will just peel off. You sort of want to rotate it around to get to each leaf. Take it fairly easy so that you don't just mangle the leaves coming off. Sometimes they will sort of fold in on top of each other, so it's a little bit hard to figure out which one's on the outside. But just a little look at it, and these things will come off fairly easily. Once you get to the center, and this is true of any of your lettuces, you're going to start encountering the more yellow leaves. All right, the yellow leaves will naturally be a little bit more bitter. So depending on your application, you may or may not want to go too deeply into your lettuce. All right. Once you get down to here, and this is what became of all the heads that I used to make our prep for today, this can get chopped up, mixed into your salad mix. It's a very, very good just salad additive. Okay, so you may have noticed that as I went through, I was just stacking them up on top of each other. Basically, I just wanted to line up these cores so that I could go back and just trim them out. All right. So I just made my cut on either side of that thick white stem, and it comes right out. And these are ready to go. Now the good thing about these lettuce wraps is that you can put pretty much anything in it, right? If you want to do all vegetarian or tofu or pork or chicken or beef, whatever you wanted to put in here, basically you can get away with it, all right? And you can do it for a variety of flavors. I like tuna salad mixed into these. My favorite quote-unquote Asian application is a Chinese dish called galloping horses, which is ground pork with peanuts and a spicy sauce. And it's all just mixed together. And there's 4 ingredients in that thing. But then once it's rolled in with a little bit of orange, it's fantastic. So for construction of these, and this is where we'll have our interactive part of the day. We have plenty of lettuce so that everybody will come up and make their own lettuce wrap. What we'll do is we'll just stack these, right? Once you get past that little fold, you got a good little base. certainly would recommend 2, maybe 3 leaves, just to make sure that you get really good coverage. And you want to also have them overlap so that when you do roll, you have several layers that wrap around the same ingredients. Okay? So we'll just use a little bit of the chicken. Remember that this is a chicken wrap. So, we'll do 2 to 3 times the amount of chicken as to our vegetable mix. All right, so our vegetable mix today, we have some shredded carrots. I use some yellow bell pepper and shallots, and then I pre-mix that with the Thai vinaigrette that's in the recipe, just so it can soak in a little bit, distribute that flavor, but also soften up those peppers just a little bit. So that's going to go through the middle. And then I've got just a few quote-unquote wonton straws, just some wontons that were cut and deep fried. These can bake. You can also just cook them in some oil just to crisp them up. That'll give the inside a little crispy texture, so it'll be a nice little contrast. Certainly, I could have mixed the vegetables and the chicken ahead of time and just let it set and marinate. I really wouldn't have wanted to mix the crispy wontons in with the wet liquid. That would get them soggy, and that would lose the crisp component of them. Again, pretty much anything that you want to put in here, whether it be just leftover chicken that you're repurposing with some other vegetables or some other flavor, is perfect. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a tug to sort of compact all of the product, and then just give it a little bit of a roll. So I've got a little blowout, which is fine. Just get me another leaf. And I'll just get that rolled in. And then this, typically I'll slice just for presentation, but then you can really get in and pick up your wrap and go to town, all right?
Some serrano peppers, thinly sliced, that would make it really good. So, does anyone want to come on up and give this a try?
I guess the real question is who's going to be first.
Yeah. Come on, yeah, come up, Jonathan. Jonathan's come to all of our events. This is a pretty low-calorie, lean meal.
Well, you want them to overlap so that you have a surface area. There you go.
Does anyone else have a question? Do y'all have any ideas of what you would put in this to make it different or give it a different flair?
All right, y'all, come on up. Let's start getting up here and making some. You can definitely do more than one person at a time.
Yeah, come up, come up. The more people that come up, the faster y'all eat.
And so don't think that you're escaping without making one.
Yes, here, you want to come up to the mic?
So, some like ground meat with tzatziki sauce, tomato, a little bit of onion, and just wrap it up in the lettuce.
Oh, yum. That sounds so good. Especially lamb. Does anyone here like lamb? Oh my gosh. Yes, lamb is so good. Another fun idea, you guys did blackened basa at our first episode. So one of our tips was that you could put the blackened fish in like a taco. So instead of using a tortilla or something like that, you can actually wrap it up in this little lettuce wrap. So use some salsa, maybe a slaw or something. That would be delicious. So who has cooked some of our items since we've started the tour? I know some people are new, so they haven't seen, but anybody else? Have y'all tried the cheesecake since we did it?
We tried the sweet potato chips.
Oh my gosh, those were so good. Now, did you put different kinds of seasoning or something on it, or keep it simple with salt and pepper? Yeah, cool. That's great, though. It's so good just by itself. You really don't even need seasoning. Yeah, those are so good. So what was y'all's favorite episode?
Yeah.
We're reminiscing. Microwave. That was fun. Yeah, it was competitive, creative. All right. Where are we? Does everybody have one? Y'all come up. You want to make one?
Yeah, you do. Come on.
They'll be done in a flash. It's super fast. Does this seem easy to you guys?
Yeah, it's really like a fast snack.
It is. It's super fast.
It's really great for leftovers.
Yeah. All right, you guys, the ones of y'all that have the lettuce wraps, does it taste good? What do y'all think? Yeah? Good, good. It's always a good thing when it's quiet, when people are eating, because you can tell they're into their food. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely. So what we're doing here right now, so everybody's caught up, for the people who have gone to this before, you get to enter to win to get the gift basket. So I'm going to show you guys what's in our grand prize basket today. So all of these are some kitchen essentials. We have some kitchen towels. They're definitely a must. We have oven mitts, of course. We have this little ceramic skillet, which will be perfect for doing the blackened fish that we did earlier on. We have a thermometer, meat thermometer, which, as they mentioned, you guys could use this for the meatloaf that we learned earlier in the tour, and you could practice your kitchen safety, which of course is important. We have some measuring spoons, or cups, I should say. And then this here is a little casserole dish. It's great. You could put dips in it. You could put the C-store cheesecake in this and have some friends over. You could also put it in the oven, so casseroles, pasta dishes, stuff like that. It's perfect little size. And then, of course, one of the ones I'm excited about is the cookbook for the entire cooking tour. It has all of the recipes, the nutritionals, as well as pictures. So it's a fun little addition as well. All right, y'all ready? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Jonathan won it! Congratulations! And Jonathan, of course, is one of the ones that went to all 6. So congratulations, Jonathan. You're welcome. Yay! Well, you guys, it has been a great cooking tour. We are now concluding our 6th episode and final episode of the first season of the What's Cooking Coogs Cooking Tour. So thank you guys all for coming out tonight. Once again, this event is hosted by Student Housing and Residential Life and UH Dining Services. Thanks, and have a great night.
I wanted to take a second and thank all of you for coming as well. It's been fun to share some of my culinary knowledge and just be able to give back a little bit of some of the experiences that I've had, and hopefully you've learned something that you can take with you and adapt to your own styles. You know, again, thank you all for coming out. It's been great fun, something different for us, so that's always a welcome event. So again, thank you all for coming to the What's Cooking Coogs Culinary Tours.
Okay, so our big question for y'all is, what did you learn from the What's Cooking Coogs Cooking Tour? Anybody volunteer?
Well, first of all, I got this great gift basket.
Yes.
And secondly, made some new friends, learned some great new recipes to try out later, and just had a great time.
Good, great. That's wonderful. Anybody else?
Some very easy to make recipes. I normally do like to cook, but it's very hard to in the middle of classes. So it's nice to have some kind of easy go-to recipes, and it's nice to know easier ways of cooking things, like the meatloaf in the microwave was amazing.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's great. Do you want to say something?
I learned a lot more about the services here offered at UH and how the school really cares about our nutrition and our health, and that's been the best part of it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, guys. Oh, yes!
I learned a really good snack to eat in between classes. It's really cheap to make that any college student would afford and would really love.
And you mentioned that snack earlier. Which one was
Sweet potato
it?
chips
The
are probably
sweet
my
potato
favorite.
chips. So good and so healthy too.
Definitely.
Especially compared to the other chips. Anybody else?
It's kind of difficult being away from home and not being able to eat my mom's food all the time. So, I mean, it's good to have something that I can make in my dorm.
Definitely. All right, you guys, that wraps the final episode of the series of the What's Cooking Coogs Cooking Tour. So thank you guys so much for coming out tonight.